My name is Nelson Wolff. I was born here in San Antonio, October 27th, 1940, born at home on McKinley Street. Well, I went to law school. Started law school in 1963. It was downtown at the time. And when you're in law school, you learn to do things that a politician does. You learn how to speak before people. You do a lot of reading. You learn how to write really well. You learn how to bring your arguments down to a concise point. And you represent people. So it kind of leads a lot of lawyers into politics, and that's what first gave me the thoughts of doing that. I was president of the law school when I was there. So ran for state representative. I was 29 when I ran and won. I served one term in the Texas House. Then I ran for the Texas Senate against an incumbent. I won that race. Also introduced a resolution calling a constitutional convention. We had the convention. People said, why don't you run for Congress? I don't know what I'm thinking at the time. I did. 21 counties, never set foot in half of them, and lost by 0.5% of the vote. So I was out of politics for a very long time. Henry Cisneros was mayor. I supported him when he ran in 1981. First Hispanic mayor of a large city in the United States. He really energized people in the community, asked me to come back and get involved in the Target 90 process, which was a planning process for a 7-year period of time, and coming up with goals, and I chaired that for 2 years, and that got me back in the politics again. Ran for city council in 1987. I was just thinking about the Library Foundation, and I believe it started that year, maybe the year before or the one after, but it's right in that time frame that Henry Cisneros created the Library Foundation. I got to know Henry well. I thought about doing that as when he decided not to run again. I got very much involved with the library, increased its funding, worked with Henry on a bond election to build a new library downtown as well as some learning centers. Campaigned for that, and we passed it. I was planning to run when he decided not to do it again. I had some personal problems to take care of first, and so I didn't run, and then Lala Cocker was elected mayor, and then 2 years later I ran. There were 11 candidates in the race, and I won that race in 1991. Well, during the mayoral campaign, we did build the library. We made some radical decisions, I guess you would call it at that time, was to hire Ricardo Legarreta out of Mexico to design a building unlike anything else we had here, which they christened it the Red Enchilada, I think it was. And we think it's pretty cool. And so I was proud to get that done. My wife raised some additional money to make it done, something like $5 million. We combined 3 agencies after a long term, and that created the San Antonio water system that you see today. We did a parks bond issue. We hosted 2 international functions there that had never been done before. Had the first national state dinner here in San Antonio. So we was an action-packed 2 terms I served as mayor. Well, what was interesting during that period of time, which we don't see today, you had the San Antonio Light and you had the San Antonio Express News. And they loved to report on all the goings of city council. And so every day there would be this story in one newspaper that might be criticizing you, so then you knew the other paper would say something good about you. So there was a lot more sort of, I guess you'd say, behind the scenes coverage. You know, Lou Fox got off into some kind of a deal, and then of course the mayor had his problems, and that all got out. And So it was really a kind of a controversial period of time, but quite frankly, I enjoyed it. Well, I was out of politics again, came back over and bought our partners out of Sun Harvest. Spent 5 years building up Sun Harvest. It was natural food stores, a chain of them that we built up, doubled its sales in 5 years. And then in late 1999, sold it to a national corporation called OATS at that time. Then this appointment came up for the county judge when Judge Cryer decided to go on the Board of Regents, and that was May of 2001. And I've been here for 17 and a half years, run for re-election 4 times, I think. Well, what we did, we actually learned some things from politics that helped in the business, the Target 90 thing being a principal thing. And so my wife and I convened 50 of our top employees. We had about 750, and came up with a 5-year plan, pretty detailed about how we would renew our stores and how we would put more natural foods in. Very detailed plan. So over a 5-year period of time, we remodeled every store we had. We closed 2 of them and moved them and opened 2 new stores, and we added another net new store. So we made significant upgrades in the quality of the foods as well as the locations we had, and that's what led to doubling the sales. I was appointed in May of 2001 when Judge Cryer took a seat on the Board of Regents. So I was up for election like a year and a half later, I think it was. And so I've run, I think, 4 times, is that right? 4 times, I believe that's right, and have won. And so it's been a long run. Well, you know, when I got over here, and the timing just happened to be right because I just sold Sun Harvest and I was looking for something to do. I remember coming over here after being mayor, and coming over here, and within, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, I said, this is the weirdest form of government I've ever seen. It's so bifurcated and spread out, and no county manager, no, you know, central authority, 10 people reporting to the court. I found it to be a nightmare, and it took me a few years to get to going where I wanted to go. And then eventually we were able to get the support when Commissioner Wolff won and we appointed David Smith county manager. We made a lot of improvements before David was there, but that's really what brought it together. We've done a lot. I believe the mission reach of the river probably is way up there, the largest ecological restoration of an urban river in the United States, 8 miles long. That gave rise to where we could get the World Heritage designation for the missions. When we went to Bonn, Germany for that, it was a very exciting period of time, and we got overwhelming support for it. So we're the only one in the state of Texas that has that designation. So I think that stands right up there at the top. I believe the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts really took our arts to a whole new level. That was a big one. A lot of people didn't recognize we did 13 regional sports parks. That was about $85 million worth of amateur sports parks, and I think that left a good legacy. What we're doing on the San Pedro Creek, what we're doing with the Alameda Theater, things that we've changed in the criminal justice system, more what I call therapeutic justice, where we're trying to help somebody rather than make them a worse person than they were when they came in. So, and then Bibliotech was an initiative, first all digital public library in the United States. So, we got quite a bit of stuff done. It was the summer of 2012. I was reading Walter Isaacson's book on Steve Jobs. And after going through it all, it really struck me how quickly things were moving. That was 2005. The iPhone did not come on till 2007. I believe the iPad came 2009. And then more ebooks were becoming available. And gosh, that compressed period of time, that much happened. what's going to happen in the future. So that gave me the idea. We'd had little differences with the San Antonio Public Library at that time on cost. So I pulled together a group of people and said I didn't want anybody there from a public library. I wanted to do something different. And so within 9 months, we developed the plan and opened the first one on the south side of San Antonio. And to go in areas that were on the wrong side of the digital divide, to teach them as much about technology as we did about books and information. So it was a dual purpose. And then we have two others, one on the west side, east side. But our biggest audience is right over the internet for books and movies and whatever else they want to check out. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I was born on the south side, went to elementary schools, Page Junior High School. My dad was transferred when I was in high school, but we came back not too long after that. And the south side always got the short end of everything. Even when they started talking about the river, they first wanted to go to the museum reach, you know. We sent our sewer to the south side. I can remember waking up and where a lot of it was dumped in Mitchell Lake and the wind blew the wrong way. It was a terrible smell. Floodwaters all to the south side. No investments on the south side to speak of. Everything north. And so I really wanted to see a change on the south side. And so the mission reach was something that I thought would be very important. We had already supported A&M coming over there. Brook Base was going along. And so doing the mission reach of the river gave it identity that nothing else could give it to. And now we see development coming all along the mission reach and close to it. You know, it's where I was born, my heritage was there, and so we wanted to make that a priority and not always say, well, next year, Mr. Southside, when next year never came. Well, I think from a humanitarian standpoint, I'm most proud of our therapeutic justice. We made huge changes in that in the last 17 and a half years. They wanted me to build a new jail and almost double the capacity 17 and a half years ago. And I said, no, we're going to help people. So we've created a first drug court. We've added several more of them. We've added a mental health court, veterans court, and we got something like 8 specialty courts now that are trying to help people. We created great diversion programs for the mentally ill and the ones that were hooked on drugs. We just took another major step with our intake center where we bring people in and we do a good analysis of them before we find out whether they should be on an outside program or whether they have to go in jail, and what do we need to do to help make them a better person. We created a reentry center for people that come out of jail to help get their lives stabilized and to turn their lives around. So in 17 and a half years, we still haven't built a new jail or added new net beds, I guess is the right way to say it. And it's been working, and so I'm real proud of that, what we've done through our hospital system, the $900 million we put into that for the new hospital, the new downtown clinic. So I'm really proud of what we've done to try to help people. And then, of course, we've got numerous projects that we've done. I would, again, put the river right up there at the top, and you can go down the line of all the others. Bibliotech, I think, was really important, too. So we've done a lot of unique things. I was 23 years old when John F. Kennedy died, was assassinated. I remember being at the law school when that happened, and because he'd been here 2 days before, and I remember seeing him going down Roosevelt Street where we were looking at he and Jackie the day before. And that had a big impact on me. And I thought that, you know, what he was saying, you know, today we probably use it and don't think too much of what it means, but it's not what you do for yourself, what you do for your country. And so it really, between the law school and that event, really sort of propelled me into a life of politics. And I've been a Democrat for my life. I haven't changed my stripes. I haven't changed my beliefs. They've been the same as they were when I was 23 years old. I think that's, really what made me decide to give a lot of my life toward politics. I've always thought that you needed to kind of earlier in life at least get some idea where you're going, and I've tried to get them to think about that. Life will go pretty quick, and you need to kind of at least have some idea where you're going and how you should work toward it. I spent about half my life in the private sector, half in the public, and so either way that they go, I think is fine. So I've always tried to say, you should have some hopes and aspirations. I remember I was with President Obama in California, and I got him to sign a book for my granddaughter, and I said, she gave you money over the internet with 600,000 people. And so he said to Hazel, dream big dreams. And I thought, that's really important to tell a young person too. Dream those dreams, get an idea about what you want to do, and work hard to make it come about.